Back in the days of the stories, long before the Normans ever arrived in Ireland, the royal site of Roscommon, County, was a very important place. Back then, it was where the kings and queens of Connacht lived and built their palace houses in what was already a very ancient landscape. So many exciting stories gather around Royal Roscommon, like the elite heroes' quarrel that begins the wonderful tale of Brickcrew's feast, or the spooky Samhain adventures of Nera. And of course there is a great cycle of stories that make up the Táin March Festival. The main story begins with a disagreement between the Queen of Connacht, Medb, and her consort, King Ailill. But one of the most important roles of these royal sites was to hold regular, at least once a year, regional Oenachs. These were very important gatherings and celebrations. They probably didn't take place right at County. The stories placed them closer to the river, probably near Loch Ree.
But what was an Oenach? How did they work?
An Oenach was kind of a big party. Everyone who was anyone had to be seen at it. There was lavish feasting and music and storytelling, and all the guests had a great time.
So it was a time for feasting and entertainment.
Yes, but it was also like the Olympic Games. There were chariot racing and horse racing with sporting competitions of every kind. Every warrior wanted to become a champion. And there were poetry and story competitions too. Oh, there were loads of prizes. There was also a fashion show. Everyone showed off their most expensive clothes and finest jewels. And of course, in the days before YouTube and Facebook, it was a great opportunity to pass on news and make sure that everyone had heard about your latest exploits. It was a great time for boasting and bragging. And perhaps even more importantly, laws were made, treaties sealed, and disputes settled. There are so many stories about Cruachan that are really worth retelling and celebrating, even today, especially the exciting Táin stories. For the last few years, schools from all around Roscommon have gathered together at Roscommon Mound to meet up with Queen Medb and support the launch of the Táin March Festival as it begins its journey across Ireland. It wasn't possible for the Táin March Festival to take place in May 2020 or 21. But that hasn't stopped us. No, not at all. So, welcome to the Roscommon Schools Óenach.
But it is still quite difficult to get together for parties and sports, and social distancing isn't very easy at an Oenach. And where are we going to find horses and chariots?
We have something that no one had at the time of our stories. You see, we have the internet. We can hold our Oenach online. It's a virtual Oenach. Pity about the chariots, though. I'm afraid we couldn't quite manage those. During October, schools from all around Roscommon have been finding out all about the people who created the stories. There are the storyteller poets, the elite champion warriors, the hospitable brugus, as well as all the clever craftspeople from the stories. They have been discovering more old stories and creating their own new stories and poems worthy of the greatest of the storyteller poets. They have been taking on feats and challenges as dramatic as any of those the elite warrior athletes attempted. They have been designing jewellery and weapons as magnificent as any created by the crafters of the stories. So come on into our virtual feasting hall. Everything is ready. Come and see what magical tales our young Roscommon storyteller poets have to share with us.